Hello and happy Wednesday. How is your warm Wednesday? We got summery weather happening. And yesterday, in the summery warm weather, we had our street had a shaved ice truck come out front with like the calypso music, all about that bass calypso style, and shaved ice with a bazillion flavors. And so we had some happy kids, and it was so fun to have a shaved ice truck outside our front door. So that was awesome. It was a quick visit, but it was still fun. It was something summery and fun. And so we loved it. But hope you guys are doing well. And man, June is right around the corner. I can't believe it. Another month almost done on the books. But one of the things that I love about the technology era that we are in is that I can get on to YouTube, Google in about 2 seconds and learn how to do anything that I couldn't do, that I could learn from an expert, right? Like if you want to learn how to make sourdough, you can just get onto YouTube and watch someone who has made a bazillion batches of sourdough and what they do. Or recently I kind of Googled, YouTubed, I wanted a wildflower garden on the side of my house. And so with no gardening experience, I can look up what an expert has done and what they know. And I can learn from an expert in like 2 seconds. I can learn how to do about any hairstyle or, I don't know what you might YouTube, what you might need to know from an expert. But that is one of my favorite things about this technology age. And today I want us to go to an expert and get some expert prayer advice. I want us to learn from someone who knows how to pack a powerful prayer life, how to see God move and the kingdom come through his prayer life. And so we're going to look at just a really quick this morning encouragement from an expert prayer so that we can, maybe for some of us who have our prayers sound like the same kind of a few sentences over and over, and maybe where we've not been able to really attach to some new concepts of what God might have for us in prayer, that we can look at those things from an expert. So I think some of us, maybe our prayer life, we're just getting a little weary, and maybe we've again, like kind of gone around the same block a bazillion times on our prayer path. So I want to look at Paul and something that he wrote, how he would encourage us, what he was asking for people around him to pray for him. And it's in Colossians 4. And it starts in verse 2. And this is what he writes. This is how he is asking for prayer. He says this. He first of all says, devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. But he says this, and pray for us. 2, that God may open a door for our message so that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains. And as Paul writes this expert prayer advice, this isn't like spiritual chains. This is physical, literal chains. He is in jail. He had been doing his missionary journeys up to this point all over, the Mediterranean area. And he, at this point, ran into some opposition, and he is in jail. And I think it's so fascinating that he doesn't ask people, hey, listen, I need prayer. Pray for my comfort. Pray that I will have favor with the jailers. Pray that my trial will have a favorable outcome, right? He's not praying for those things. He's not praying that he gets better sleep. He's not praying that he would be able to handle the conditions of his oppression in this moment. But he is saying, listen, here's how I want you to pray. I want you to pray for an open door. I want you to pray for an open door for our message, that we would proclaim the mystery of Christ, that we would proclaim it powerfully, we proclaim it effectively, but he's praying specifically for an open door. And I want to just take a minute to explore what that was, because if I look back on some of Paul's experience and some of his writings, we know that Paul has experienced an open door of ministry. He knows what that is. He knows what it is like to have an open door for the gospel message, because it's something that he actually uses this phrase kind of often in his writing. For instance, in Acts 14, he talks about one of his missionary journeys to the Gentiles. And he says that God has opened a door of faith for the Gentiles. That same phrase, a door of faith, that he talks about in 1 Corinthians 16, actually, that he's in Ephesus and he's saying, we're going to wait here until Pentecost. He says this because a great and effective door has opened for me. A great and effective door. Like, again, he knows what an open door is like in ministry. And then again, in 2 Corinthians 2, he came to preach the message, and he says this: a door was opened to me by the Lord. So I'm staying here to preach because God has opened a door here. And I love this. I love this idea of Paul going, I know what an open door is like. I experienced it. And this is where I am focusing my prayer. This is where I'm asking the saints to gather around me in this day and to focus their prayer in on this. Here's what I want. Here's what we need in this day: an open door. We need God to open a door. And we know this is like really in God's heart. He says in Revelation 3 that there's this prayer for the church, and God is saying this. He's saying to the church, he says, see, I set before you an open door, and it is a door that no one can shut. And so this is a thing in God's heart. This is something he is willing to do, that he is willing to open a door. And Paul knew by experience what an open door of ministry was like. And so he's asking all the saints, gather around, and here's where I want you to aim the firepower of your prayer life. If you're going to pray something, pray this: an open door for the gospel, an open door for the kingdom, an open door for ministry. And it's like this, I like how he's pointing us to this specific place. Because again, sometimes we are like aiming at 1,000 different things, aren't we? In our prayer, we're kind of like groping around in the dark. And he's saying, I want you to pray right here. And it's almost like he's giving us these coordinates. I like to think of it like the game of Battleship. I don't know if you guys played that growing up. We got the electronic Battleship like early on when it was like, first came out. We would spend lots of hours playing electronic Battleship. Remember how that goes? You have this grid and you have your hidden ships, and you're playing against an opponent and you can't see where their ships are, but you can start to try to nail down where their ships are, where you need to aim your fire by guessing coordinates. And so you have this grid. And so you'd say like B6, right? B6. And they would tell you either like it was a miss or you hit a part of a ship, right? And so I feel like Paul is giving us some coordinates here. Aim right here. Aim your prayer here for a door to open. And so that's what I'm asking for us as a church right now, to come together and aim our prayer life around an open door, because we know what an open door feels like, right? Like we know the difference between an open door and a closed door. We're on vacation once in Florida, and there was a family area space, and then it led to a big outdoor area space with a pool and a deck. But in between the two were these massive sliding glass doors. And because it was someone else's house, it wasn't my house, those doors were spotless. They were super clean. And I think it threw my kids off, because at least once a day, we'd hear a scream and someone had again like banged into the glass door because they didn't realize that thing was shut. And so what we decided to do is we put stickers at eye level all over that glass door so kids could stop and go, wait a second, this door is closed. I am not going to run into that thing. I'm going to open the door and save my forehead and my nose from some damage here. But what I'm asking for us to do is we know what an open door feels like. And I'm asking for us to pray for an open door for ministry, that as we are reopening, as we are seeking God for reopening, not putting that out there like, hey, reopen this Sunday, but we're seeking God, we're seeking his heart. We want to know what the next phase of his call for us as a church, his dreams, his image for us as a group of people, what that looks like in this very, short accounts in this next season, in these next few weeks. But what we want is we want an open door. We don't want to be banging up against closed doors. We want to know what doors God is opening. We want him to open doors. We want him to open doors for his kingdom in our city, in our families, in our friend groups, in our circles. And so I'm asking us to be door discerners, to just go about our day, to first of all pray for those open doors, but then to be door discerners and to know, God, I know you heard my prayer. I know this is in your heart. We see it in Revelation 3 that you want to open doors for us, that you did it for Paul and you'll do it for us. And so then we're door discerners all day. We're kind of having our hands out there as we go through our day, as we have conversations with friends, as we are hanging out with our families. We can just ask some simple questions. How are you? How are you doing today? Where are you at? Where is your thought at? Where's your mind at? Where's your heart at? How can I pray for you? We ask some of those questions and we just discern, is the door open here? God, are you opening a door here? You opening a door for the next step in that conversation towards who you are, God, and what your nature is like and what the gospel means. Are you opening a door here? So we're going to be looking for open doors. We're going to be feeling out for kind of where around us are open doors for ministry. We're doing that. We're doing that as pastors, as a staff. We're trying to discern where's God opening doors for some gatherings, for smaller gatherings, again, within the guidelines of what our governor and people in authority over us are saying, what's safe. But we're beginning to discern for open doors. But we believe that God will open doors when we ask, and those are the doors we want to walk through, people. So join us in prayer. Point your firepower with us on this prayer that Paul has said, pray for an open door for the message of the goodness of God, his kingdom, the truth, and the fullness of the gospel. So thanks for being a part. Thanks for jumping on. It's good to see some of you guys just joining in. And we're praying for open doors in your lives, in your hearts, in your ministry. So speaking of prayer and open doors, we have a Zoom intercession tonight. And the link is here below. It's on our website. Join in and pray for us as we're praying for open doors these days. Bless you guys.